We'll get started, guys. So the session is being recorded. Let's do ourselves a favor, put on some full screen, and then let's get started with our pairs, guys. Let's get started with our pairs. So we've got a set list of pairs. If someone was to ask me how different is this week from last week, my answer would be not very different at all. Not very different at all. Because a lot of the setups, like we always say, the higher time frame setups take a while to play out, and obviously we trade in the direction of higher time frame analysis. So nonetheless, let's do what needs to be done. So if we look at AUDCAD, just looking at a higher time frame, we'll just recap obviously our previous analysis, just so that we always understand what the higher time frames are doing, because that's where the money is. The money is in the direction of obviously the volume, and the higher the time frame we're looking at, the more significant the move, because takes price, or obviously price or the market moves over a period of time. Obviously, if you're on a higher time frame, the market would move more. And we'd obviously know that if the market moves a lot more, it means that there's a lot more money behind that move. So nonetheless, the higher the time frame, the more significant the information to us. I'm in a session. I'm in a session, man. I can't do anything. Apologies for that, guys. Apologies. I would like the respect of our space and our time. We have reserved this time. We don't want disturbances. Nonetheless, we're on AUDCAD, guys. So AUDCAD, basically, in the higher time frame, we've got this large overall descending structure, and then obviously we've broken the descending structure to the upside, which means that obviously we want to trade in direction of this momentum that we've got going there. Nonetheless, all we've been looking for after we've broken this structure, we've been looking for some sort of a corrective structure, obviously, to trade in the direction of this momentum. Now, if we just have a look at the daily, what we will see, we've got momentum, then obviously some resistance. Why is my mouse just jumping around? We've got momentum, some resistance, and then obviously some support. Then we've got a new higher high. So obviously this is the most recent low that has been formed that managed to break a level of structure. Nonetheless, where are we right now? We're at that low. We're at some sort of a support area. What we want to do is we're trying to look to trade in the direction of the momentum. So to us, this support obviously functions as a low or some liquidity or whatever language you want to use, but nonetheless, support will always be support. What we're waiting for, what we're expecting is that price is going to manipulate around this support. If you guys remember the analysis from last week, we spoke about, yes, we had a descending structure. Obviously, now I just evolved my structure to accommodate the new price action. But nonetheless, we had a descending structure that looked something similar to this, or whatever the case was. And we discussed that this was a corrective breaking structure. Yes, we did break this descending structure, but we broke in a corrective manner. And every piece, or rather everything that the market is doing, is giving us information. Yes, we're looking for longs, but we observe that the environment isn't right or isn't conducive for the types of trading opportunities that we want to involve ourselves in. So obviously we exercise patience, we adjusted for structure, and now with the new adjustment of structure, we can see that we've got this overall larger descending structure. And what we can be looking for is for price to come down and terminate, or at least give us some sort of a third touch inside of this region here before we start to look for some upside momentum. So now we've got this overall structure that allows us to trade in the direction of the higher time frame structure. And as well as obviously we're finding points of interest to be able to guide us and increase obviously the probabilities of us finding these trades in those directions. So included with the POI, obviously the support trend line is a POI that we're looking at for our support trend line, but we also do have this nice momentum shift over here, which is just a bullish engulfing, which signifies to us that someone aggressively bought from here. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to buy. So naturally, so we want to buy where we see other volume buying, where we know that, okay, cool, in between this price region over here, there was aggressive buyers, and price has not come back to this region ever since we left this region. And obviously if price comes back here and there's the same buyers that were looking at the market over here, then naturally so maybe we would see price action basically reacting from this area there, because that's a price region where we saw buyers showing interest in the past. So that's basically the logic behind our overall consensus here on AUDCAD. We're going to be bullish over the course of next week. Obviously, we just need to wait for the setup to play out, but we did get that nice downside follow through. All we're waiting for now is just for price to show us that we're decelerating, we're losing the momentum, and obviously we then can start to look for our bullish setups. Nonetheless, let's move on to the next pair. So all the pairs that we don't have highlighted, we're not looking for anything on next week. So I'm just going to skip them all together just so that we save some time. Let's go into AU. Cool. So on AU, what we've got here on AU is I've just accommodated for structure like we did with AUDCAD from last week. So we're just following the structure. Obviously, we're waiting for that trading opportunity. So like we always say, we want to be responsive and not predictive. As much as we're predicting where, which direction, what we want to do and all that stuff, at the end of the day, we've got to be responsive because the environment is always changing. The environment of last week, or let's say the environment of 2 weeks ago, is not the same as the environment of last week. Why is it not the same? Is because last week had its own reasons why price action did its own things. And obviously the information that was included in last week, remember that we're talking about previous 2 weeks. Yes, there was information in this week. Yes, there was information in last week, but last week's information adds and changes people's biases. Whatever was going on in the previous week, obviously now what we've got to do is we've got to accommodate for this information, this new information that we just got last week, because it's relevant to our decision-making process. We're following the environment as the environment is changing, rather than just creating one bias or looking for one setup, and then price action is changing and we're getting new information, but we're not including this new information into our decision-making process. Nonetheless, let's not digress way too far. Let's keep going. So on AU, things look very much similar to AUDCAD in the sense of we've got momentum, we've got an overall corrective structure. We're still very stubborn and we are still assuming that this is just a manipulation. Obviously, we could be wrong, and maybe we should be adjusting for structure and doing something like this and looking for short trading opportunities all the way to, we have no idea at this point in time, but right now we're just going off our own assumptions. We've been doing fine ever since. Let's just continue, rinse and repeat. So on a daily, we're still inside of the structure. We broke out of the structure, we broke back into the structure. And as long as we're inside of the structure, we can find reasons, obviously, to be biased. If we look at the overall, or at least just the most recent structure here, on a daily, if we just go back, what we can see is that we've got some momentum over here. Obviously, momentum came down. We've got a resistance, and then obviously we've got a new break of structure. So this is the last place where we saw a bunch of sellers coming into the market. And obviously what we have now is we see a reversal of that momentum, even giving us a new higher high. So naturally, so what we're looking for is some sort of an inverse head and shoulders. We want to see those buyers obviously doing what they need to do inside of this region in preparation for that upside move that managers, or at least we're hoping to complete somewhere inside of here. Let me just move this one side. We're trying to complete at least somewhere at that resistance. Then we know at least there's a young inverse on a higher time frame that is at least playing out. But it also goes in the direction, or it aligns, if we just talk about what we analyzed on a higher time frame, since we have momentum and a corrective structure, naturally so we're looking for the next momentum to break the corrective structure, hopefully to be looking for or to be hunting some sort of a 90% objective. So all signs still scream that we can still look for buying opportunities. What we've got to do is we've obviously got to analyze the probabilities that exist, and then we trade where those probabilities are, because it's a probabilities game, guys. No one knows where the market is going up or where the market is going down. Everyone is trading a plan and a system, or at least the best of them are trading a plan and they're trading a system. And that plan and that system doesn't give them the ability to predict the market and make sure market goes up or whatever. That plan and that system just shows them, or at least gives them, allows them to find windows of opportunity where they are able to make money. So we should be taking the exact same process, or at least the exact same thinking pattern, and including that in our own trading as well. Because I don't know about you guys, but that's where I want to be. I want to be trading a whole lot of money. I don't want to trade 100 rand accounts, whatever, 1,000, whatever, all these small. I want to trade big money. And obviously, if you're going to trade big money, then you need to learn the habits that people that trade big money are using. Nonetheless, AU. 4 hour, if we just drop down into a 4 hour, we still have that momentum shift from a long time ago, very long time ago. So basically, we see a large amount of buyers obviously coming in at this price region over there, sending prices higher, obviously managing to break some resistance areas and then starting a corrective structure, whatever, all that nice good stuff. But all we're waiting for is, we understand that this does function as a nice POI, point of interest, for us. But then at the same time, what we have is we have this support trend line over here. Obviously, this is the support of that higher time frame structure, the corrective structure that we are looking at. Obviously, if price action does break down, price can still react from this area. Price doesn't have to come down and fulfill this objective of this POI, whatever the case is. All we've got to do is, since we know we're looking to be buyers on a higher time frame, if we see price action breaking down, once we break below this low, because obviously we know that sellers, if there's a break of structure, this is a correction, impulse, correction. Obviously, we're expecting the next impulsive move. The next amount of sellers that are going to come in probably have 90% rule objective. Maybe they want to send prices down to this support area here and try and push prices lower than here where buyers came in. That's probably what sellers want to do. So nonetheless, what we're going to do is we're not going to try and look to buy from this support here or any other support unless we see a structure that allows us to trade it, because things are 100% bearish now on a smaller time frame. So what we need to be looking for is obviously a reversal of some sort to allow us to trade that bullish price trading opportunity. So at any point in time, guys, I don't mind exercising a lot of patience on my pairs, because patience does pay. It honestly does. You find that you didn't trade AU for 3 or 4 weeks, and at least for 3 or 4 weeks, you avoided the opportunities that maybe would have taken your money, maybe would have made you money, who knows. But you obviously exercise patience for 3 or 4 weeks or whatever the case is. Then you find one trade that you get into, and that trade runs. And that's the one that you, or at least that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to involve ourselves in every single up and down, but we're trying to look for higher time frame traders, or at least opportunities to get into higher time frame moves that are going to run, trades that are going to allow us to find a nice tight stop loss, a nice whatever, and we enter that as a scalp, and then we keep holding as a day trade, and then we keep holding as a swing trade. Those are the types of trades that we want to enter into. Trades that are going to allow us to let our winners run. We can't even do those basic things of letting a winner run if you're only trading smaller time frame structure. At least it's just my assumption though. But otherwise, let's go on to the next pair, guys. So we're bullish, we're 100% bullish on AU. All we're waiting is just for the breakdown of price action. And then obviously once we break below this low, our eyes are now focused on reversal structures anywhere that terminate inside of here. The reversal structures will then increase probability for us. Let's go on to some US30. Let's just go back up to a daily. Yeah, hey, US30 put us in the eye. I was looking to sell US30 last week. But US30 decided that she's just going to keep pumping. But at least we didn't get any entries or any whatever. There was no reason to lose money. As much as we had a bearish bias, there were no trading opportunities for us to jump into any sales, or at least for me on my end. So we stayed out of US30 for the week. But nonetheless, on US30, if we just look at a higher time frame, I would like to say that I think I am okay being bullish on US30 as well. US30 was only my plan to sell 100% sell US30, 100% buy NASDAQ. But I feel like the way the structure is changing now, US30 is starting to allow me to also look for opportunities on the buy side of things because of, I guess, just what's going on here. But nonetheless, let's just discuss. So the main reasons why we've been bearish all this time is obviously because of this major resistance over here. We obviously saw price action decelerate here at this resistance, a lot of sellers, more deceleration there, and then a breakdown again. So that's kind of why we were bearish, because yes, there was an explosive amount of buyers that pushed price action towards this resistance, but we saw those buyers exiting the market. Nonetheless, what we always do is we always keep into account context, what is going on at the end of the day. And what the truth of the matter is that yes, we did give a new higher high by breaking above this resistance. Yes, this is momentum, and yes, this is a corrective structure. So it all does also allow us to be bullish in obviously hopes of continuation to the upside. If all signs are good and the US is saving the day as they usually do, because right now I'm confused. I understand that this economic game that we are playing is 110% broken, and only people with connections are making money. Because what sense does it make that 3 weeks ago everyone was running on banks, everyone was withdrawing their money, I think people were panicking on last week, people started buying banks, buying bank stocks. What sense does that make? Are people panicking? Are people fine? To me, everything is just confusion right now, and this system that we're playing here is just something else. Otherwise, conversation for another day. But let's get into context. We spoke about all of that higher time frame context, but then also let's speak about the most recent price action. If we just look at where we are right now, we can clearly see that we cannot buy. As much as we want to be bullish or whatever the case is, we cannot buy. We're at resistance. There's no way in heaven or hell that we buy at a resistance. It makes a lot more sense to be a seller. So we'll still hold that contingency there. I'll still keep that plan, obviously, to see if maybe US30 wants to give me a sell. Nonetheless, let's speak about the buy that we also included into this whole mix. How the buy plays out is that obviously if this is a corrective structure, or if this is momentum and this is a corrective structure, price action has broken below equal lows and we've broken back above these equal lows, obviously showing us that we grabbed some liquidity below these lows. What we also did is we bounced off this support. Yes, we broke that support, but we also broke in a corrective manner. So obviously we can see that yes, we're creating those lower lows and lower highs, but it's not the same as what was going on here. Here we had momentum, and after the momentum, once we broke structure, everything was nice and juicy. Cool. Yeah. So obviously we can see that things are a little bit, obviously the environment is changing, whatever the case is. All we're going to be looking for is some sort of an inverse. We've got momentum, we've got resistance, obviously we've got a support. What we need to do for obviously for the probabilities to increase is if price action gives us a new higher high, then obviously we can be looking for a corrective structure that allows us to get in long. But nonetheless, let's just go down to the smaller time frames just so that we can see the structure in a little bit more detail. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. So on a 4 hour, obviously we've broken whatever, if you wanted to draw a descending structure or trend line or whatever the case is, we've broken that that trend line, the obviously sell trend line, nice and impulsively, price action hasn't come back. We've also broken this resistance, nice and impulsively, price hasn't come back as yet. We've broken below this level of structure, obviously, we've broken back above, and we do understand that at a future date in time, future point, price can come back to retest that level of structure that obviously we manipulated below. We're assuming that this is the manipulation. So what we all that we did is we've just obviously found a nice POI there for us to be trading at. Nice momentum shift here on a 4 hour that aligns somewhat with these levels of structure that we're looking to trade at, because we obviously want to trade where we see other people doing or making the types of decisions that we want to make. So what I'm going to do on US30, my longs are from down low. Obviously, I'm looking for my sells. As long as we're at resistance, there's no way that I'm going to buy at a resistance. So obviously, that's my plan on US30. Both directions right now, we're very impulsive to this resistance. So obviously, if we're going to sell, we need to wait for a reversal structure because there's no way we can sell into buyers that are this aggressive. Nonetheless, if we want to buy, then we either wait for the patience of price action coming down to premium buying areas, or we wait for the next patience of price action keeping the momentum going and then slowing down to allow us to get in at the next break and a retest or whatever the case is. But right now, we can see the market is moving. We don't jump in while the train is moving. We wait for it to stop at the next station. So same thing when we're trading. Once the momentum is there, we should be in, because that's what our strategy is supposed to be doing. Or at least my strategy, or what my strategy is for, is my strategy is there to help me find corrective structures, to trade those corrective structures in preparation for this momentum. So if this momentum is already there, then it means that my system just wasn't good enough to involve me in that momentum. What I should be waiting for is another opportunity, obviously, for me to get involved in the next momentum that's going to come. We don't chase the market, or at least I don't chase the market. Nonetheless, let's just we know selling from there, we know buying from there. Otherwise, we've got contingencies in both directions. Let's have a look at some NASDAQ over there. Cool. So NASDAQ was pretty much the same as US30 in a sense that we were looking to sell as well, but we saw the buyers continuously just pumping things to the upside. But what I do have, obviously, higher time frame, if we just look at the context again, we always take context into account. We'll find out, okay, cool, price action came from the top. We've got a support. We've got some sort of a resistance. Obviously, this is the last resistance on a higher time frame that managed to break a level of structure. And ever since we created this high and this low, price has been inside of that high and that low ever since. So the closer we get to this area, this is an important resistance. The closer we get to resistance, the more we want to sell. Obviously, the closer we get to support, the more we want to buy. So again, we're taking into account context. Let's also look at the most recent price action. So most recent price action, maybe I'd say last week we were a little bit in the wrong direction, maybe, but nonetheless, I still would have not bought at resistance. It does not make sense for me to buy at resistance. Maybe if price action came a lot lower, yeah, I think this is from last week. This POI is from last week. If you guys remember last week, we were saying that yes, we can buy, but we want to buy at some sort of a break and a retest, and there's a POI that aligned. And all we're waiting for was price action to break the structure, come tap here, and then maybe we could buy. So since price action decided that she's going to do her own thing, obviously we just adapt and accommodate for what's going on. Our plan didn't follow through last week, so we change and adapt and accommodate for the new information that we have to deal with, or at least the new information that allows us to make a little bit of a better decision, because now we have more knowledge about what's going on in this environment. Cool. So if we just look at the most recent price action, yes, we broke the structure, we're trending up, all nice and well. We even have momentum. If we want to trade in the direction of all of this buying momentum, then things are very simple. We've just broken above a level of structure, nice and impulsively, with some good momentum. All we need to do to find continuation to the upside is just wait for the corrective structure to retest the level that we just broke above. Obviously, we'll find that continuation to the upside. But the closer I get to this POI or this POI, for sure you can bet that I'm going to be looking to short NASDAQ, obviously, because we're close to an area where a bunch of sellers came into the market. They were able to break a level of structure. It is some sort of a supply, and the supply still holds as long as price action has not broken or created a new higher high. It's the same rules that we've been operating by ever since. We'll just continue to do it because that's what's been making us money. Rinse and repeat. Even if we don't get trading opportunities, we will get an opportunity, obviously, that our system allows us to take advantage of, because market is very big, market is fair. Market will allow everyone that's trading everything to get an opportunity to lose money or to make money. I had to add to lose money because market does give people an opportunity to lose money as well, because there is no 100% in this environment. The environment can be picture perfect, but you can still lose money. Why? Because the market is the market, and the market is 100% random. Your system doesn't tell the market what to do. Your system is trying to guess what decisions you should be making based off what the market is doing. It's the other way around, guys. It's the other way around. Otherwise, Susian, let's start off on a daily, just so that we can look at this beautiful structure that pumped us out before it went down. Nonetheless, the reason why we're looking, or the reason why we're still looking to short Susian, is just because of the higher time frame structure. Or let's just look at the most recent structure, since higher time frame just looks hella confusing. Okay, cool. So most recent structure, yes, we've been trending to the upside, but what we've been seeing is we've been seeing a lot of sell bias momentum from here. We had this extreme high, a lot of sellers coming in, corrective structure all the way through, more sellers coming in. Okay, yes, we decelerated there, but if we look at how long price action took to come down versus how long price action took to come up, you can see that we're still taking a lot longer to make our way up than we did to come down. So the momentum is still to the downside, as much as maybe we're still in some complex type of a structure. That's why we've got this high marked out and this low marked out, because we might just be in some sort of a big range or whatever the case is. And the safest thing to do when we're looking to trade a range is just trade the chart patterns that form inside of the range, because I'm looking to trade a corrective structure in preparation for the next momentum. And a chart pattern can also give me an indication on where could the next momentum be. Even if I'm moving sideways, there's still going to be momentum in one direction or the other at some point in time. Let's delete all of this stuff here. Cool. Let's continue there, guys. Otherwise, cool. So we spoke about daily structure. Let's go down to a 4-hour or drop down time frame just to look at the structure that's going on there. So otherwise, we do have some sell bias momentum that broke this overall corrective structure here that we were looking to trade. Nice momentum is what we want to see. So what we did, we had a POI, I think it was inside of here, if I'm not mistaken. We had 2 POIs last week, one inside of here, and then obviously this one up here. And we had plans obviously to sell from either this POI or this POI up here. What we saw is obviously the market broke above this first POI that we were looking to sell. So obviously the second POI becomes a valid area for us to begin to start looking for our downside continuation. Why are we still looking for downside continuation? Because we're still inside this area where we saw a lot of momentum that managed to break a lot of levels of structure. Obviously, if we compare this to this, it's clear that there's at least there's someone willing to aggressively sell, and there's not a lot of aggressive buying that's going on in this current environment. So I want to trade in the direction of that momentum. What we have here is some sort of a sideways moving market. Yes, cool. We broke above the highs, but obviously we know that momentum is to the downside. There is a chance that price action can come back and break below this low. Obviously, if we're wrong, then we'll see a nice break and a retest and continuation of that momentum to the upside. What we've got to do is just put our money where our mouth is. That's what I always tell the guys that I trade with. Like, I don't care whether anyone can call any direction on any pair. It doesn't matter. I don't give anything about how many times I forecasted buys or forecasted. If I did not take a risk on that position, my forecast means absolutely nothing. Everything that I did was absolutely for nothing if I did not actually find an opportunity to perform as a trader. None of what I thought even matters. The fact that price action played out doesn't even matter because I couldn't trade and experience that whole, I guess, I don't know, whatever of the price action doing whatever you assumed it was going to do. Nonetheless, the reason why I'm dropping down the time frames, I was trying to look for the time frame that we had this POI on. I think it's on a much smaller time frame. Let me go down on a 5 minute, just so that you guys can see that at least I'm still not pulling things out of the air, that we do have those POIs inside of that momentum. Just trying to move the chart to the side quickly. Cool. So it's on a much smaller time frame than a 5 minute. But it's on a 5 minute. It's on a 5 minute. I think this higher POI here is on a 15 minute. But nonetheless, you guys can see there is a momentum shift here on a 5 minute. Where's this thing? There is a nice bearish engulfing here on a 5 minute. Obviously, that shows us momentum shift inside of all of this momentum over here. Yeah, all we've got to do now is just exercise patience. We wait for price action to tap either into this area or our higher area. These are the areas that we're looking, obviously, for that downside continuation. If we just look at the most recent structure, just 1 second before we conclude here, you guys can see, yes, there is a lot of momentum to the upside. And obviously, this does look like we're breaking lows in a corrective manner. So maybe if price action is preparing to make a move a little bit higher, let me just do this. If price action is preparing to make a move a little bit higher, all that does is that allows us to get the entry that we were trying to get last week, but just didn't manage to get because price action didn't come close enough, obviously, to give us an entry. It didn't tap our POI. So otherwise, obviously, if you guys, if we see the continuation of this momentum to the upside, what that's going to do is that's just going to bring us to where we want to sell. We've got a resistance, which means things become a lot simpler because all we're doing is we're waiting for price action to break this level. Once we break this resistance, we're looking for a corrective structure that terminates inside of this area. So the job becomes simple when there's a level of structure and a point of interest just outside that level of structure. So on Swiss yen, yes, I am still looking to sell. Very stubborn. I've always been very stubborn with my biases and my analysis. But yeah, it's kept me afloat all this time. It's kept me afloat all this time. Guys, I'm 100% done. I think what I'll do is, let's see, there's 30, we've gone 30 minutes. I think there should be like 10 minutes in a couple of minutes left. So what we can do is, if you guys do have any questions that you want to ask about either the pairs that we've been through, or something that we've discussed, then go ahead and drop your questions. Maybe we can use this last 10 minutes just to share some value with each other, and then we can bounce. We'll call it a session. So I think I'll just wait there. I'll see if I see thumbs up, then that means everyone is 100% cool. No one's got any questions. No one's got anything, then we can call it a session. If you don't want to type down your question, then maybe just raise your hand and then I'll allow you to unmute yourself. By the way, let me just greet who I see in the building. Katlego, what's good there, man? Mlizo, in the building, I see you there, man. It's my first time seeing you inside one of the sessions, man. Nice to see you there, man. I see Paul there in the building, Rofiwa there as well, Sibongiseni, Mzobe, and I see Wendy there in the building. Thanks, guys, for taking time out of your weekend to be part of the session. I need your direct number. So I think the best place to contact me is either Instagram or Discord, but I'm most active on Instagram. WhatsApp, I'm very inconsistent with WhatsApp. I don't have a lot of commitments on WhatsApp. So I think, man, text me on Instagram. I'll definitely get back to you as soon as I see the text. Any other questions, guys? Did say that we've got 10 minutes remaining. I think if there's no questions, don't see any hand raised. So no one's gonna ask a question. Cool. 100%, man. Thanks a lot, man. Otherwise, I don't see any questions, guys. Let me call it a session. We'll meet up whenever we do meet up. Let there be peace in the streets. Let our brothers and sisters be safe. Appreciate that, Katlejo, man. I see the text there. I see the text there, man. I'll see you guys on the Discord server. Cheers, guys.